Hey, what's going on, faithful? It is That Niner Live podcast. I am your host, Ron E. Niner. We got a jam packed agenda today. I am joined by a special guest. He's actually become a really good Twitter friend of mine. We started following each other. I'm not too sure how long ago, but we had some really good debates. I reached out, asked him if he wanted to come on with me, have a little debate. He is a Jimmy enthusiast. Let me introduce you to Dan the man. Dan, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Good, man. So I know you're out in the Central Time Zone. I hear it's hot over there. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, it's like was it 8:40 right now, and it's 90 degrees, man.
Dude, yeah, I'm in Arizona, so I'm right there with you with the weather. So look, man, the schedule was released today. Have you actually got a chance to look at it yet?
Yeah, I looked at a few of the games, just the exciting ones, the ones that really popped out. That Broncos, looking at where our division is placed at in the season, kind of skimmed through it.
Yeah, you haven't looked at it in depth. I have not either. I know that the week 1 and week 2 games, I kind of already hopefully see them as wins. Week 1
Yep.
is against the Bears. It's a 10 a.m. game. And then week 2, it's against the Seahawks. It's a 105 game. So I don't know, man. We looks like we may start the season off 2-0, but then we got to face Russell Wilson with the Broncos. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, especially with Wilson not being in Seattle and them having Drew Lock, like him trying to learn the offense and that Pete Carroll offense. I don't think they'll be the same Seahawks as normal. So I see a lot of miscommunication there.
Yeah. So look, dude. I invited you on for a reason. Like I said, we follow each other on Twitter. I know that you're not shy to voice your opinion on Trey Lance and Jimmy G. I want to ask you a few questions. We'll definitely get down to it. Let's talk a little bit about it though, because I think we can't even get into the schedule unless we actually have predictions on who's going to lead this team. So
Yeah.
let me ask you real quick what your thoughts are and what have they been throughout the whole off season? Like, have you been happy? Let's talk draft, free agency. Like, give me your take, man. Walk me through the mind of Dan the man.
Yeah, honestly, I just been following the Debo situation the whole time, and I kind of threw out some conspiracy theories out there that Debo was holding out because Trey Lance was supposed to be the starter, just trying to stir the pot with some people. But honestly, I don't see any problems with Debo staying. I think he'll be with the 49ers. It's hard to – I don't think anyone can take Debo's spot. And, I think – I honestly think that Jimmy's going to be starter. He's just been with the team so much, and Kyle said multiple times that, if he's healthy, he's going to be with the team and, that he's going to be the starter and this is his team to lead. And, Trey Lance has only played 3 games, and I just don't see him beating out Jimmy in the offseason. I just see him leading us.
So then, let me follow back up on that. So, like, no, honestly though, do you think there is some truth? Because I mean, Trey's been out working with Jawan Jennings. He's been in Southern California working out with Brandon Ayuk. I know Debo has not been out there. Typically, when you're negotiating a contract, you tend to stay away from the team. But I've heard some of those rumors. I mean, that theory has floated out there. Like, do you think there's truth to that?
Not really. It's hard for me to believe that, to be honest. But honestly, I just look at like what's in black and white. It's Debo holding out. I don't see that. I think he's just doing his own thing, trying to focus on him, and he needs to get paid. But it was kind of a one-hit wonder thing. They had a really good year last year, but yeah, I don't see too much truth in that.
Yeah, so like what do you really think is going on with like what do you think really happened? Like what do you think went wrong with the whole Debo negotiation in free agency? Like where do you if like you had to play the blame game, who do you blame and who are you looking at? What questions are you asking?
Honestly, I think Debo's wanting too much money. I don't think he's been as consistent. He wants, what is he wanting? He's wanting that that top dollar for his pay. And, he's had multiple drops. I think he led the team in drops right behind with Ayuk, followed up behind him. And, he has a good run game and he's in the backfield, but, that's built around Mike McDaniels. That whole run game is on him. So honestly, I don't see Debo having the same year in the run game that he did last year. So I don't think he's that premium top dollar, nor did he do that, in 2019. 2020 was a COVID year, so I really don't count that year. But I mean, if you look at it, it's just 1 year, and that was last year that he had that consistency. So I don't see it. I don't see that he needs that top dollar or be that number one player. But I don't see us getting rid of him either. I don't see him being a part of the trade or anything like that, or being a package deal with Jimmy or going to the Jets or anything crazy like that. So.
Yeah, I think so. I think the number's been 25 million a year. I know like there's a lot of talks. Everybody has sources. Everybody knows somebody that knows something that's going on with Debo. But 25 million seems to be the number that's been thrown out there. So do you think he's worth that, or are you trying to see like another year of that? Or like if you're GM of the 49ers, like how would you like for it to play out?
Yeah, I want to see one more year of it. I think what is he in his final year of his contract? Let's see
It's
one more
his
year
fourth
of
year.
that. Let's also ride out Jimmy. Let's let's say Jimmy's the backup. He's an expensive ass backup, of course, but he's a backup. Jimmy's gone the year after that. That frees up cap. We didn't have to cut him. We still have Debo, who was on that final year. We still have Bosa, and then after Jimmy's gone, that frees up all that space. The NFL's going to increase the cap salary some more. And then we pay our two biggest players. Like, that's how I would look at it. Let's just ride this out. Debo, please be patient. Like, don't go off and hold out and, spend your time in Cancun like Elliott did to the Cowboys, and stay away from the team, still be a part of it. Give us time, see what we're trying to do here. And that's how I would look at it. Like, honestly, I think Jimmy needs to restructure. Like, that's a lot of money. But I think Jimmy's going to keep his money. He's not going to want to restructure, but.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, like, let's talk about that. So, let's jump into that because I don't think you can talk about Debo without talking about Jimmy's contract.
Yeah.
So, do you think Jimmy's contract holds up Debo, or do you buy into what John Lynch tells us when he says it doesn't, or you think it actually does?
I think it kind of does, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Debo is looking at it that way. I don't think he's holding out because of Jimmy. Like, it's either like cut Jimmy or else I'm not signing back with. I don't think it's one of those situations. But I think it does hold us up. Like, if it's not restructured or he doesn't get cut and then re-signed or something crazy like that, I think it does hold us up in a spot, because then a lot of people have to, restructure their contracts. We have to restructure Fred Warner, which I doubt. He's already a top 5 linebacker, if not top 3 linebacker, I would say. But yeah, just there'd be too much restructure to people that have signed big contracts with us. What is our cap this year? I haven't even looked at that. What our cap
I think
is
it's 208. I believe I could be wrong. It's going up next year for sure. So I'm on the board. I'm on the plane saying that Debo needs to get probably signed this year, because maybe next year he's probably going to want more.
Yeah.
I think with, like, if you ask me, I think that's what the holdup is really. It's like, how much guarantees do you give them this year? Because next year you can probably give them more. If you're a player, you're trying to push that out. But I have strongly said that if you would have given Debo, like thrown a number at Debo, like as soon as free agency opened, I don't know that it would have got this messy, but that's where I'm at with everything. I mean, I agree with you. I just don't know what that guaranteed money is going to be annually. I think that's where everybody's held up. The other thing I wanted to ask you though, like, so I mean, it's out there, right? It's obvious they drafted Trey Lance, and the talks have pretty much been like, well, what happens with Jimmy? I know even before the show came on, you talked about you strongly believing that Jimmy remains on the team, but I wanted to pick your brain. How do you feel about how the whole Jimmy situation has been handled? Do you think it's been a matter of Jimmy's corner playing hardball with the surgery? Do you think that was by coincidence? Do you think it was strategy and design? Like, where are you at with that?
Honestly, I think it was just coincidence. I think that, Jimmy got the surgery so that he could come back better. He came off that ACL and took us to a Super Bowl, or helped take, I'm not going to say took us, that's going to piss a lot of people off, but helped take us to a Super Bowl. Getting in a shootout with Drew Brees off an ACL tear, like, that speaks volumes. But I think it was just coincidence, honestly. I don't think it was anything that was planned. Like, they still have the opportunity to cut him, like, or
Hmm.
trade him or get rid of him. Like, I don't think there's anything there that says that they still can't do that. I think they, instead of getting like a third or fourth round pick for Jimmy or something like that, they may have to go for, a fourth and 2/5 or something like that because of his questionable shoulder and his hand and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I just think it's coincidence. But I just still, even with the shoulder and with the hand, Jimmy still started. There was
Hmm.
never a time where they thought that Trey Lance needed to take over permanently, like in, maybe that was just Kyle Shanahan wanting to beat the dead horse or something. But you know, he still started against Dallas. He still played against Green Bay. And it felt good, baby.
Yeah.
Like, it was. He was good. So it's one of those things that I think he's there for a reason. And I think maybe
Yeah.
he is there to split the reps in the regular season with Trey Lance. I'll go that far that maybe it's a 60-40 split, when Trey Lance gets a lot more exposure, which I would be happy about. But I think week 1 against the Bears, I think it's Jimmy G going back to Chicago, going back to his hometown and showing up the Bears and coming out firing. And then eventually you put Trey Lance in there and you start getting him those game reps. But this is kind of my biggest argument is I can't have confidence in a player that's only played in 3 regular season games. The Seahawks game, I think he played like a few quarters or something like that. I don't think he started against the Seahawks, but then he started against Arizona and Houston. And that's kind of where the debate comes down to is, I get a lot of criticism on that, is that, oh, well, you got to get him in there and he's got to play. And I completely understand that, but why take that risk? We are a win now team, and Jimmy wins when he is on that field. You know, so
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
argument.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a great point. So, like, let's talk about the draft. So when the 49ers were pretty it was pretty obvious that they were going to take a quarterback. Like, were you completely against that? Were you more wanting to focus that top pick somewhere else? Did you have another quarterback that you preferred? Or were you just like ready to ride with Jimmy the entire time? Or because I actually like Justin Fields. I wasn't put on the Trey Lance till later on, and
Yep.
then we took him. I was like, shit, all right, well, let's just ride with him. Like, where were you at with everything? Like, were you wanting to take a quarterback, or you just going to roll with Jimmy the entire time?
So here's the thing with that draft, and I don't think many people see, is that it was so QB heavy that the 49ers were put in a position. Yes, I think Trey Lance was a good pick, and I also liked Fields. I agree with that a lot. I liked Fields. Third would have been Mac Jones. Second would have been Trey Lance, and then Fields would have been my first. Just having those big school names, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, they face defenses that are far superior than a North Dakota school has. And that's my argument with Trey Lance. But I think the 49ers were forced to to draft that high because no QB was going to come out of the top 10. And the 49ers were so far down that they knew that they needed somebody to back up Jimmy. Not back up, but eventually take over. I know that there's going to be a time where Trey Lance is our starter, and I'm
Hmm.
completely okay with that. I just don't think it's now. But I think the 49ers' hands were forced into drafting that high. I think a second or third round pick for us. I don't think they wanted to draft him that high, but I think they had to because every team needed a QB.
Hmm.
It was just 3 QBs went in the top 3, and us being one of them. Like, we had to do that. I really like Zach Wilson out of BYU, but
Me too.
he's a him and Trevor Lawrence are good QBs. They're just in shitty teams. Like you can't really compare Trey Lance. Trey Lance was put in a great situation, like he was blessed to be drafted in the top 3 with a badass team,
Mm-hmm.
to a Super Bowl contending team. So I think the 49ers were just forced to do that, but I think Trey Lance should have been a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, yeah. And then so the other
But
thing
I like
about
the
it is,
pick.
though,
I do like Trey Lance being with the Niners now.
it's just not starting yet, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's always going to be that debate, because like even I've had my doubts, to be honest with you. Like, was Trey Lance the guy? Like, that's always going to be. I mean, that's still a question. I think. Um, Everybody was like, well, I think Kyle wanted Mac Jones. I don't think he sold on Trey Lance. Where do you stand with that? I know you just touched on it a little bit, but do you think there's truth to that, though? Do you think that
Yeah.
Trey Lance wasn't the guy? I know you said that they were forced to jump up there, but like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I still do have my doubts because of the way things were handled. What do you think? Do you think they wanted Mac Jones?
I honestly don't, or I'll say Mac Jones was available at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence were taken. So Mac Jones was there
Mm-hmm.
for the pickings, and we didn't take him. So I think that speaks volumes. Like I'm not trying to see the gray area. It's black and it's white. We
Mm-hmm.
took Trey Lance. And if you look at Kyle Shanahan's interviews, he said that they were set on Trey Lance. That was their guy. And I see it that way. I'm not into, like I said before, I'm not into the conspiracy theories. I
Mm-hmm.
watch the interviews and look at the draft day and stuff. And if they wanted Mac Jones, they would have taken Mac Jones. A lot of these QBs were
Mm-hmm.
thrown into, 4 out of the 5 QBs that were taken were thrown into starting roles. Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Justin Fields. Well, I think Nick Foles may have started. I can't remember for the Bears, but they were all thrown in that position where Trey Lance has had time to develop and learn the offense. And it's probably a complicated offense. I'm not too familiar with that. I don't play QB in the NFL, but it's kind of good for Trey Lance to get that learning experience and sit back for a little bit. I mean, Dak did it. Tom Brady did it. Aaron Rodgers did it. A couple of years under your belt, sitting back and watching is not a bad thing. I mean, those are top caliber QBs that have sat back and waited their turn. And Jimmy will be gone next year. I guarantee it. If he's on the roster this year, he's gone next year. Whether we cut him or we trade him, he's gone next year. And I've kind of came to terms with that. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think with Trey Lance, I think I think he's good.
Do you so let's analyze a little bit of Jimmy's tenure with the team. So I know, like we talked about
Yeah.
backstage, when he came onto the team, he came out hot. I mean, how many, it
Oh
was
yeah.
what, 5-6 wins in a row, right? We were all like, okay, this is the dude right here. But then he
Yep.
got injured. Do you think his injury played into his performance, or let me ask you this. So, do you actually think Jimmy played his way out of a job, or where are you at with that? I mean, because they obviously went for a quarterback. I'm going to ask you that very general question, and then we can talk a little bit about some of the games that he's blamed for. So, do you think that it's fair to say that Jimmy G actually played his way into the 49ers drafting Trey Lance, or is there more blame than just Jimmy Garoppolo, specifically when it comes to the Super Bowl, when it comes to the playoff run? Like, what do you think?
I think Mullins and CJ Beathard made us draft a QB that high.
Mm,
If Jimmy goes down, who the hell is going to step in? And Mullins could never get it done. I hate Mullins to death. I'm so glad he's with the Browns. CJ Beathard, he was just, he's that third string. He could never beat out Mullins. So, that speaks volume within itself. But I don't think Jimmy did it to us, honestly. He did have some bad games, and there were times where I was just like, "Oh my God, Jimmy, fucking A, get your stuff
mm-hmm,
together." But
mm-hmm,
at that, I'm just as skeptical of Jimmy. But there have been times where I've turned my back on Jimmy, and he's performed. That Saints game spoke volumes when him and Breeze just back and forth, and I know Kittle played a lot in that. Emmanuel Sanders with that deep ball to the Saints in 2019. That was a number 1 seed, game on the line. And
mm-hmm.
if you don't have somebody back there that can take that pressure from Cam Jordan, and I forgot who else they had at linebacker. if you can't stand back there like Jimmy G does and stand tall, it's, that's a problem. So I think they needed somebody like Trey Lance, a big body, a young body. He does have that mobility and that athleticism to roll out and make plays. I've always actually liked Kaepernick. I've always wanted Kaepernick to come back because he does have that. He reminds me of Trey Lance. He's just younger or older, but having Kaepernick on the team behind Jimmy would have been huge. But I think Mullins and CJ did that to us, to be honest. I don't blame Jimmy for that.
Yeah. So I mean, like, so the criticism, I think the criticism was that like Jimmy was pedestrian at the very least when it came to the game against the Vikings. There was a lot of talks that Kyle basically shut him down throughout that game. Do you buy into that? Um, you know what I mean? Like, and then the Packers game, I think he threw for a total of like 8, 9 times, and then it was all Mostert from there. Like, do you buy into that at all?
Honestly, not. I mean, that's how the Niners were built, around that run game and those quick dump off passes. There's only a few times that you throw those deep strikes, and the Niners have been so successful with it that I don't see Trey Lance doing anything different than Jimmy's doing, to be honest. I don't see Trey Lance coming in and throwing 80-yard touchdown strikes to Debo and Ayuk and Kittle throughout his whole career. It's still going to be those checkdowns. It's still going to be those slants and those end arounds and stuff. So I don't think he'll come in and do anything different. I think it's just the mobility in that, Jimmy's getting a little older, and, I think he's 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having Trey Lance there to help back him up or him go down or something like that, I think it's just insurance.
Yeah. So like so I think you hit you're dead on with it. Because Jimmy has had big games. He's come through and he's
Yeah.
come through at very clutch moments. I think you're 100% right about that. But like you said earlier as well though, he has had some bonehead moves.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mean like in my opinion, I just feel like he's had more bonehead moments than he's had good moments. Like this, I can't deny the fact that he was phenomenal against the Saints that year.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of big games, but like in the playoff run this year, and even in the playoff run in the Super Bowl, there's just times where, dude, like he just looks like a deer in the headlights. And I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know what it is with him, but it's like things that I think at with his time in the league,
Mhm.
he should those are mistakes he should not be making. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I
If
I
it,
disagree with it, only
mm-hmm,
because if we were saying that about Jimmy G taking over after Tom Brady, I would agree with it, because Jimmy G sat behind Tom Brady and now he's a Patriot and he should be leading this team, because he sat behind the greatest QB. But he came into Kyle Shanahan's offense with no leadership, just Kyle, and so when he's looking like a deer in the headlights, I mean, he's making those reads, he's trying to stay in the pocket. Jimmy's not very much of a scrambler, but I mean, I I don't see it like that. I think
mm-hmm,
he's meant to make certain plays, and if it's not there, take the sack, don't force the turnover. Yeah, he sometimes does force it. That Dallas game this year, everyone says that he was trying to let the Cowboys back in the game, but I don't see it that way. Like, our defense should have stepped up a lot more. There shouldn't have been a reason that the Cowboys drove all the way down the field. I put some of the blame, especially on the Super Bowl, on the defense. The
mm-hmm.
corners have always been trashed for some reason. Our safeties, not too much the safeties, but our cornerbacks. Sherman getting beat against the Packers, like that was huge. Luckily, he got the interception at the end, but it. I don't put all the blame on Jimmy. I look at the whole team, but at the same time, I'm not saying that Jimmy's our savior. I think he is
Mm-hmm.
a viable weapon to our offense, and I think he needs to be that way. But yeah, he does make some bonehead plays. That Dallas game, I really threw my hands in there, especially being surrounded by Cowboy fans that game. But I don't see there being too many bonehead mistakes. I don't think there's enough to scratch your head and be like, Jimmy's got to go. I think it's everyone's frustration, us taking the next step, but I don't think Trey Lance is the next step. I don't think we've seen enough. I don't think he's done enough. There's nothing in his college tapes that wows me or, makes me sit up in my seat. It's Trey Lance. He'll do
Yeah.
better than Mullins and CJ, but he'll eventually take over, and I know that. But yeah, I'm good with Jimmy.
Yeah. So like, let me ask you then, because I've honestly thought like I don't know that if he did if it comes down to him getting traded or cut,
Hmm.
I don't know that there's a destination for him anymore. I like honestly thought he was gonna probably get traded out to either Carolina or New Orleans or somewhere in the NFC South.
Uh-huh.
In my opinion, I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I do think that the injury was strategic, and I think that Jimmy's corner was probably wise to push for his release so they can dictate the terms of where they go versus the 49ers dictating where he goes. And
Okay.
if you ask me, to be honest with you, it's beneficial for Jimmy Garoppolo to do that. I don't think the 49ers anticipated that move. Again, I could be wrong. That's just like my read on it. Um, you obviously disagree with that, but here's my thing, and here's where I'm going with all of this. If you do see Jimmy stay another year and he performs well, like I mean, I guess I want to ask you, it's like how long do you see Jimmy staying on this team? I know you don't think he's gonna get cut or traded, am I right?
Right.
If he stays on this team, like how further do we go with Jimmy? Like until he just the wheels fall off, or
Till his contract is done. Probably, I'm saying that this is his last year.
mm-hmm,
So yeah,
one
and
more
then
year?
and then it's Trey, and then it's all Trey. If Jimmy goes to free agency and we for some odd reason I don't see us doing it, but sign him back. Since we drafted Purdy, I guess he'll be the backup. But and then Nate Sudfeld is on the team as well. But if we did sign Jimmy back, it'd be to another 1 year, just to make sure Trey Lance is good in 2023 and 24. But I think this is the last year with Jimmy, and I've came to terms with that. I wish Jimmy was, franchise Jimmy, but I think his run is over, and we do need Trey Lance. We need that young QB. We haven't had a young QB in a while, so I mean Kaepernick was the last, and he left the team and stuff, but yeah, I think it'll be Trey Lance eventually taking over full time, but
You
yeah,
you
this is the
just
last year.
you just think that I mean Trey Lance would probably it'll do him some good to sit another year, right?
Not necessarily sit. Maybe I told you in the
Phase
previous
him in
thing,
is
but like
what I
them
think
doing
you
like a
said.
60-40 split, eventually
Yeah,
switching
yeah,
that
that's
halfway
right.
through the season and
Mm,
doing now Trey Lance getting 60% of the snaps and Jimmy getting 40. But um, yeah, I think Jimmy's got to start, get Trey Lance to be that second half QB, especially against these easy teams. Um, maybe not against Russell Wilson, the Broncos, and teams like that. But I just can't trust Trey Lance right away. I guess I'm just a skeptic that way that Trey Lance can come in there and compete with Russell, can go in there and compete with some of these top name. I think we play the Bills one game,
mm-hmm.
and there's no way he can outshoot Josh Allen. So it's one of those things where yeah, Jimmy can't either, but Jimmy has enough experience in the offense and um, I watched Trey Lance's highlights, but I've also watched on his every throw. There's some YouTube videos which is every throw of Trey Lance, in the Arizona and the Seattle and Houston game, and he overshoots and undershoots, and I mean he's just as bad out of the pocket as Jimmy is. So they're almost the same, and I
Mm.
hate seeing it from Jimmy being an 8-year veteran or 9-year now. Um, but I have more confidence with Jimmy, especially with his 2-minute drills and him just knowing the offense, how the team will surround him and be there for him. And, he doesn't let turnovers, get to him. I think Jimmy has the highest touchdown ratio off of a turnover in the NFL. Um, so I really have confidence in Jimmy. Maybe throwing picks at bad times is not most beneficial, but, I still have that confidence in Jimmy.
So I mean, you're big on the wins, on the wins loss record. Obviously, that's really what matters. So if Jimmy starts this year, let's say he does stay with us. Let me flip it. So if
Yeah.
Trey gets to start, right?
Yeah.
Like how many wins do you think we get this year? Like, in all honesty, like how many wins do you see us getting this year with Trey as a starter?
Whatever keeps us out of the playoffs, honestly.
Yeah.
I think we'll fall short for 2 or 3 years. If Trey Lance starts, we will fall short of the playoffs for about 2 or 3 years. This year, if Trey Lance starts, I hope he does great. I hope I'm so freaking wrong. I hope everyone shits on my Twitter. Like I hope everyone has my name written down. Like I'm about to shit on this guy if Trey Lance does good because I'll be happy. And we can ride off into the sunset with Trey Lance, and I'll buy everybody a freaking Trey Lance jersey. Um, but if Trey Lance fails, that's the biggest fear is what if we don't go far and we just stay in a slump and we got a CJ Beathard and Mullen situation again where we got to draft another QB. Nobody's working out for us. What do we do? Do we go after an Aaron Rodgers or a big name that's about to retire so that we can get our sixth and everyone can be happy? It's one of those situations where I think I'm more scared for Jimmy to leave and Trey Lance to fail. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So not a lot of faith of in Lance this year. I mean, because you could be right, dude. Like it's still uncertain. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, I think we all have that doubt. I know that a lot of people come out and tweet and say that absolutely not. But yeah, it could get to the point where Trey Lance may not be that guy. What's your percentage on him being a bust? Where are you at? Honestly, 80,
Honestly,
90, 60,
no, it's not even that. It's probably like that he's a bust is 40, 40,
40,
40 or less.
40. Mm,
Yeah, just because we have the weapons that can,
mm-hmm.
like, I think that's the biggest argument. I love when people say it is that we got the weapons. Debo, IU, Kittle. The run game has all, Elijah Mitchell stepping up. We got Hurst coming back. Just we've always had a good run game and a good support. And I think if Jimmy does get traded or leaves, yes, I'll be skeptical of Trey Lance still, but there'll still be that little bit of confidence where it's like, we could still get this done. The Houston game last year kind of scared me. The Arizona game, Seattle game, those kind of scared me. Just because those are division rivals, Seattle and the Cardinals, and if you can't get close to them, in reference to the points and stuff, then that's huge. Those are 6 games, that you could chalk up L's to. And I know Seattle's not the same team, and we got a lot of movement with the Rams. I don't think the Rams will be the same team. Their schedule looks hard as shit, which I'm happy
Mm-hmm.
about. And then the Cardinals, that's always been a hit or miss. That's always like usually, it's a 1-1 split for us in the year. So that's always difficult. But they're going to put the pressure on Trey Lance. Every team is. If they're looking at who's going to start, and if Trey Lance starts, all you got to do is rush. You got to blitz Trey Lance, and he's going to roll out. Luckily we got Debo and Ayuk turning into those Tyler Lockett kind of guys that can get open in space and create those mixed matches in the backfield and stuff, or downfield. But that'll come with time. His vision is going to come with time. He makes those first reads, and I see a lot of panic where he'll make that first read, and if Debo's not open or Ayuk's not open, that first read, he runs. And I mean, he only averaged 5 yards a carry on 38 carries. I mean, there's running backs that do that with 11 guys coming at them, a whole box stacked, that average, 4.5 to 5 yards a carry. So for Trey Lance to do that as a QB, it's not beneficial. We're trying to build a good line for the run game, and he needs to stay in the pocket, and Jimmy does that. So it's just one
So
of those situations.
do you think that so I know you're concerned about the amount of plays he's had, amount of reps, amount of games, like the amount of football that he's actually played.
Yeah.
So when you look at his tape, mechanically, physically, like what concerns you the most? Because like when you say he runs out of the pocket, do you think it's just a matter of him getting more reps, or do you think he's failing to see any pre-snap reads, or he's failing to read the defense? Like, what do you attribute it to um, when you say that?
Yeah, I think it's just the lack of reads. I don't think he's going through those progressions, looking at it as one guy. I don't know how they do reads. I'm not going to sit here and,
Mm-hmm.
contradict how he's going through his reads. Like, I don't know who his first target is, but he
Right.
looks at that first target and he's waiting for him to hit that spot and it's not there. And all of a sudden he needs to roll out and create more time. And unfortunately, Trey Lance isn't Russell Wilson. Um, so I think it's maybe, and it is the lack of experience. He'll get
Mm-hmm.
used to it, and eventually he'll get that momentum. In that Texans game, it just took time. Fourth quarter, but I'd rather have Jimmy that plays all 3 quarters and then does nothing in the fourth quarter than have a QB that doesn't show up till the fourth quarter. And just sits on his thumbs for 3 quarters. That you can't do that against teams like Seattle and the Cardinals. Kyler will eat you up. Teams like Allen will eat you up, the Bills. So you can't do that. You got to play all 4 quarters. And, I think it'll come with experience, but it'll take time.
Do you think it's fair to say that maybe Kyle didn't know how to use them, or he just didn't have a game plan for him, or do you just strictly think it's Trey Lance nervous, he's panicking, it's just too fast for him right now, um, or do you think it's a little bit of Kyle just like let's talk about the Arizona game. I know you saw the Arizona game where
Yeah.
he was pretty much a running back.
Yeah.
Like, do you think is it fair to say that Kyle just didn't have the right game plan for him, or do you still believe that Trey Lance panics and runs?
I mean, Trey Lance is going to be Trey Lance. He's ran in college.
Mm-hmm.
What was his sophomore year? He put up good numbers. Just running. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you have to utilize Trey Lance. Like, he's used to Jimmy being back there, and I think a lot of the plays where Trey Lance could have rolled out and took off, Trey Lance is like, well, I'm not supposed to roll out on this plane. I'm not supposed to take off. I got to look for those reads. And, then he panics and he only gets 2 yards because he had to scramble because, Simmons is coming after him. So it's one of those things where I think you and I both, we blame Kyle for a lot of that stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
just bad game planning. That's
Mm-hmm.
just Trey Lance is a mobile quarterback. And if you say, hey, if you get out of that pocket and you see green grass, you need to book it, where Jimmy's not going to book it. We can look at, 30 yards of green grass and Jimmy's going to sit there and wait for Kittle to come back to him or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very aware of that. But Trey Lance needs to book it. And, Kyle Shanahan wants to execute the game plan and, get him those passing yards. But I think Trey Lance needs to be Trey Lance. And I blame Kyle, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, so that I mean, it's because it's hard to get a read on that, because of the competition that he played against in an FCS school. Like, you look at Trey Lance and you want to take him from where he was as a Bison and then insert him into like an NFL team and see if he can do the same thing. That's
Yeah.
really what you want to see. When I look at Trey Lance and I look at tape on Trey Lance, I mean, like, what concerned me the most was his touch. Like, I don't know why he couldn't I don't know why he couldn't understand when he needed to have touch on the ball and when he needed to put zip on it.
Yeah.
So I honestly thought it was just a matter of him being a little bit jittery. You see some of the game tape where you have Kittle talking to him. He just looked nervous. He didn't look like he was in his element. But at the same time, I don't think he was helped by Kyle Shanahan. So I guess where I'm going with everything is I still think that there's huge concerns with him. I have concerns with him. But if you just look at him as a physical athlete, like, I think there's just too much of a ceiling there for us to be, for me to actually say, like, no, there's just no way that this guy's a bust.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think more than likely, I just think Kyle has a guy that he doesn't hasn't figured out how to use yet. So I'm hoping that, we do figure it out. But again, I'm like 80-20, to be honest with you. Like, 80% says I think this guy's going to be it.
Yeah.
20% of me has that doubt. So I think I'm kind of right there with you. I'm going to ask you one last question and then we'll end on this. So um, I want you to tell me straight up, um, honestly. So with Trey Lance, did I
Mhm.
ask you this? With Trey Lance, how? I mean, Are there any possibilities that we get into the playoffs with this guy starting right out of the gates, like at all
This year,
this year?
I'm gonna say no.
No. You think we take a major step
Yeah,
back? Like if you had a
I don't see it.
predictions on his stats, like if he starts week one, like have you thought about how many passing yards, how many rushing yards, how many touchdowns, how many interceptions? Like where do you have him?
I don't think he's gonna be a top 10 QB. I see the Niners probably going. Wait, we have 18 weeks now. Shoot, that always throws me off. I say we do about the same that we did last year. Maybe one more loss, take away a win. Um,
But
so
no
I say
playoffs.
like, what is that? 9-9 or 9-7, but no playoffs. Yeah, I think the
9-8.
Cardinals and the Rams unfortunately take it, and go in.
You put
Yeah,
us at
nine and
about
eight
third
as
in the
well.
division, maybe third in the division.
But yeah,
No chance.
yep.
Good deal, man.
But
I
yeah, I just don't see it for the next 2 or 3 years. I think maybe if we do, it'll be another 10-7 season, and we barely squeak in or something. Like we got to have an easy ass game. What's our last 3 games of the season? I didn't even get a chance to look at that. Do you have that?
So our last 3 games, I do. It's actually week 16. We play the Commanders. Um, week 17 we play the Raiders in Las Vegas. That's actually New Year's Day. And week 18 we play the Cardinals, and that's at home.
Oof. Oof.
So yeah. So let me just run down the
If it comes
schedule
down to
for
one of
you.
those situations where it's a must win at Arizona, must win against the Cardinals, I don't see that happening. I would knock that up as an L.
Okay. So
So
with Trey Lance's starter week 1 versus Bears, win or lose?
win for sure. Are we saying with Trey Lance?
With Trey Lance.
Okay. Yeah, win.
Win. Week 2 versus
Yeah.
Seahawks with Trey Lance.
It'll be close, but I say a win.
All right. Week 3 with the Broncos at Broncos with Trey Lance.
Damn. Russell's Russell. But
Yeah.
we do got a better defense. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that's a win.
All right. 3-0. Week 4 versus Rams, Monday Night Football at home.
I gotta say loss.
3-1. Week 5 at Panthers, October 9th.
That's a win.
Week 6 at Atlanta.
Who does Atlanta have? They have Kyle Pitts.
They have Pitts. They have Mariota. I believe they just drafted Chris Olave from Ohio State.
You know what pisses me off is in 2019 we should have beat Atlanta and we lost to them.
We
That
lost
pisses
to
me
them.
off every time.
That Julio touchdown, right?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna knock that one up as a W. But
Cool.
yeah, that's a sketchy one because we tend to let our guard down against shitty teams for some reason.
And week 7 versus Chiefs, home.
Yeah, I think we know the answer. I think it's an L.
All right, week 8, Rams at Rams.
I'm gonna split this one. I'm gonna say this is a W. I think Trey Lance figures it out.
Cool. Week 10 versus Chargers, Sunday Night Football, home.
Damn, this one's hard because Herbert, Eckler, Allen, man, this one's so hard. This is a home game?
Yeah.
Damn. I think we pull out the W.
Cool. 6-2. And then in Mexico City, we play the Cardinals.
I think that's a loss.
6-3. Week 12 versus Saints, home.
Do they even have a starting QB?
Jameis so far, and I
And
believe they drafted one.
see, the Saints are always like that. They're good in the regular season, then they shit the bed in the playoffs. I'm gonna have to notch this one up to an L.
Okay. And then we play Brady and the Bucks, week 14.
Yeah, I think we had this debate on if Brady was the greatest player.
Yeah, we
I got
did.
shit on for this one, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't beat Brady. So, especially with us, I just see him. I think I'm even going to call this one, say he throws for 350. So I'm going to say a loss.
Cool. And then we got at Seattle, the Seahawks.
I think that's a win.
Cool. So, and then we got Commanders, week 16.
Who's their QB? Or their
Carson Wentz.
I don't even know what I'm caring about. Yeah. I think they surprise. And honestly, I'm going to say that we give up the L.
Ooh, dude.
Yeah. I know
And
I'm
then
about to get on for that one.
it's all good. And we got the Raiders, week 17.
This is biased, but fuck the Raiders. So I got to say Niners.
Cool. Last against the Cardinals, week 18.
Yeah, I got to say that's an L. I think they sweep us.
Wow. Cool, man. So you actually do have us missing the playoffs, brother. All right. Hey, so I'm going to make a bet. If we make the playoffs and Trey Lance is the quarterback, I want you rocking a Trey Lance jersey. I'm going to send it and I'm going to mail it out to you. And I want to see pictures all over Twitter with it.
I'll do that.
Okay.
All
right. It's recorded. I mean, I'm going to
I'll
hold you
even
to
get
it.
rid of my Jimmy G jersey if we did that.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm going to hold you to it.
Yep.
Cool. All right, man. So, hey, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. Again, it's been cool chatting with you. I know it's always fun debating with you on Twitter. You're actually more respectful than what I thought, which is really, really cool. But I knew when you come on Twitter, I mean, you keep it classy with me. I don't have any problems. So
yeah, sometimes I'm just trolling some people, so I try and just stir the pot
having
a
fun
little
with
bit,
it.
but
I feel it. I do the same thing. I try to keep it light. I try to keep it positive, but if you become a douchebag, then I'm gonna be a douchebag right back at you. So, you know what I mean? So, Dan the man, where can we find you, brother? What's your handle on Twitter? Get you some follows.
Man, I barely even know my own handle. I think it's Dan Stan. Man, I don't even know the.
It's
at my handle.
Dan. It's at Dan Stan 55148-527, y'all. My man Dan the man. I think it's Dan the man the Stan. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Dan the man. Don't be a Stan.
Hey, dude. Oh, yeah. Don't be a Stan. Hey, I want to invite you to our panel as well. When I have my boys on here, it gives us a different perspective. If you ever want to come on and talk to the guys when they come on as well, it's open invite for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love that. I appreciate it.
Cool,
that.
Man. All right, dude. I appreciate your time. I will be posting this later. Any final words before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, let's go faithful. Let's go Niners. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Let's go Niners.
God bless Jimmy G.
Let's do it. All right, brother. Have a good night, man. I appreciate your time.
All right. You too, man. Take it easy.